Broadcasting from the Allen B. Levan NSU Broward Center of Innovation at Nova Southeastern University. Welcome to Sunshine Startups Live, featuring rockstar entrepreneurs, bright ideas, and experts on the startup ecosystem. And now your hosts of Sunshine Startups Live, Jim Ryan and John Wensveen.
Hi, and welcome again to Sunshine Startups Live. I'm your host, entrepreneur, investor, and startup enthusiast, Jim Ryan. I'm joined by my good friend and colleague here at the Levan Center, John Wensveen. John, great to be with you again, my friend.
It is great to be with you, my friend. John Wensveen, Chief Innovation Officer at Nova Southeastern University and Executive Director of the Levan Center of Innovation, the world's first theme park for entrepreneurs. We have a great segment coming up because we have a guest that is truly impactful on Broward County. And I would say it actually goes beyond Broward County borders. And I'm really excited about today's conversation.
Yeah, and I actually refer to her affectionately and formally as Madam President. But Carol Hylton has been a huge supporter of Broward County in multiple ways. And we're going to talk to Carol Hylton today, who's President and CEO of CareerSource Broward, and specifically how the organization functions, how does it help job seekers, of course, and really with a greater focus on is it helping employers and entrepreneurs and those that are seeking to build their businesses here in Broward County. And Carol, thank you so much for taking time to be on the podcast today.
It's my pleasure, my pleasure.
So we kind of bifurcate this a little bit, and we'd like to get to know you a little bit, talk about your background first, and then your many, many years of service supporting the community, the county, Broward, in your role as President and CEO of CareerSource Broward. But I would like to wind the clock back a bit and talk about what brought you to Broward County. Tell me a little bit about your background, and then we'll work our way into CareerSource Broward.
Okay. Well, thank you again, both of you, for having me. I am so excited to always share who we are and what we do. Again, my name's Carol Hylton, President of CareerSource Broward. My background is one that I am an immigrant. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies, came to America as a little girl, and raised in New York, Brooklyn. I'm a Brooklyn girl, Brooklyn, New York. I am a teen parent. I am a single parent. I am someone who worked 3-4 jobs, so I understand struggle. I dedicated about 20 years of my professional life to working with child welfare, child protective services, regular foster boarding home, therapeutic foster boarding home. And then I came to Florida because my parents, as so many people do, were aging and needed assistance. And that brought me to the Urban League, where I was their VP of programs. And I came at a point in which they were transitioning the foster care from DCF over to private nonprofits. I was the 8th employee that came on board in Palm Beach, and I helped to construct what they now know as their system of care. And I did that for about 7-8 years. And so after being in the trenches, so to speak, for over 20 years, I wanted to kind of go upstream a little bit to be able to be more impactful before the kids were living in the car with no roof over their head, or living in an abandoned building and not being able to have proper, utilities and such. And so for me, that led me to CareerSource Broward, which at the time was Workforce One Employment Solutions. So I became their CEO. And I have been with the organization. October will be 18 years. When the pandemic began, our CEO, who was there for many years, decided it was time to pass the baton. And I'm so happy that he and the board passed it to me. And we have been working diligently to ensure that CareerSource Broward is not a secret, and that all of our services are known to both job seekers and employers so that they can take advantage of it.
So I look at workforce development boards as lifelines to the community across the country, and CareerSource Broward is certainly a lifeline, not only for the people that are seeking jobs, but those that are looking to hire people for jobs as well. And it is known within certain circles, but it's not known in other circles. Same with this model that I'm building here. There's a group that knows and a group that doesn't know. We're trying to create more education and awareness. So if we utilize a moment to really create a platform for what CareerSource Broward is, what is the makeup? What is the infrastructure? What is the organization?
Okay. CareerSource Broward is your local workforce development board. And it is really comprised of 51% is private employers, of which our very own Jim is currently the vice chair. So he will be stepping into the role of chair. And then we also sit together as a group with the Council of Elected Officials. So we have Commissioner Ryan, Mayor Levy, and Mayor Trantellis. And together we have public schools and private schools and K through 12. Together we are at the table working to figure out how are the best ways that we can put our resources, our funding. We are funded by the state to invest those funds into the community, to grow the business of employers so that they are able to have the talent they need. So on one hand, we are growing the talent. We provide scholarships and support services to in-demand industries. And then on the other side, we are working with the employers to ensure that they have the tools they need to grow their business. And we can do that in a variety of ways.
And let's talk about some of those ways, Carol, because when I joined the board, now vice chair, almost every meeting I'm learning more and more, even after several years, of all the wraparound services and really how you support not only the community but employers specifically and finding talent and various programs that you mentioned earlier, sort of a hidden gem that John mentioned as well, and helping support those entrepreneurs in the community. So kind of talk a little bit about things like the apprenticeship program, the summer youth program, grants for training as an employer that employers can tap into. Kind of share a little bit about those various programs if you can
Sure.
kind of bullet those out.
Well, let me start in the beginning with respect to when someone is trying to grow their business. In the very beginning, we can be an asset to them. We can be an extension to your human resources department. We can assist you with labor market information, helping you to determine what the job description and what the salary is. Then we can step in and assist you in hiring events or recruitment fairs. We recently just had one working with over 122 employers and brought in 1,200 job seekers, and it was a very successful job event, and that's the connection that we make. Separate from that, we have the work-based training programs that we offer. We can have the work experience where the employer does not have to hire the person. You get the person for up to 400, 500 hours, and they're there to be the hands you need to help you to do the work that needs to be done to grow your business. We cover the workers' comp, and we pay them. Then you can step into on-the-job training. On-the-job training is if you were going to hire someone, but they didn't have all the skills that you needed, but you were willing to invest and be the trainer to kind of have them develop the skills, we would step in with you and offset their wage while you are training them. So we pay up to 75% of the wage, and that's not just one person. It's as many times as you are willing to invest. And so you're investing in the community you're growing your business, and you're investing in the job seeker. Now, that can be up to $18,000 per person. So if you divide or if you multiply that by however many times, you're talking 30, 40, 50, 60,000, wherever however often you are able to do it. It's not the kind of program where you take 3 people and that's it. It doesn't end, because we're here to invest and to grow your business. Then you can move on into upskilling, because not everyone wants they may want plug and play. They don't have the time to be able to train someone. So if you have a workforce, and again, you're growing your business and there is an upskilling that needs to happen to your workforce because a new equipment came in or new software came in and they need to learn it, that would be devastating for you. So again, we can step in and offset the training that needs to happen. So we would pay for the trainer and offset what needs to happen up to the tune of, I think, 75%. If you're under 500 employees, and it might drop to 50% if you have more than 500 employees. And what that means is, and it depends on, it could be 5 people or it could be 100 people. So we have done training grants for, 30,000, 50,000, 150,000. So these are really your tax dollars at work. So it really would be advantageous for an employer to seek us out. Now, everyone always wants to say, well, tell us the 4 corners of the world so I know if it applies to me. But there really aren't 4 corners because every employer's situation is unique. But what I can tell you is that we are here to try to bridge that gap and make every situation a yes. So not in all circumstances it may be what you want, but it can be, we can meet in the middle. For example, someone might say, I want to teach a 6 Sigma. Well, 6 Sigma as a standalone would not be enough to qualify with respect to the requirements the state has given us. However, if you do have a certification that you're going to be giving them, and some smaller component of that is the 6 Sigma, well then yes, we could do so. So it really is about making that call, talking with us, so that we can figure out how we can help to grow your business. Now, looking at the labor shortage that we will have for some time to come, it really, again, is to in our best interest to make sure that we're working with our young people so they know the challenges and the various career paths that are there. I know growing up as a little girl, I didn't know what was available to me. My parents were immigrants, and they just didn't know the various career paths. And an economically disadvantaged youth may have parents that are struggling to just make ends meet and may also be in the same situation. So what we do is we partner with Children's Services Council and the cities and Broward County, and we provide a work experience, 8-week work experience, summer youth employment program over the summer for 16 to 18-year-olds. This year, I'm happy to say we will be putting probably about 1,200 kids to work. The kids receive $14 an hour. We pay the workers' comp. The employer simply only needs to host the youth for 8 weeks. We're doing something unique this summer too. I'm reaching out to employers and I'm asking them if they would like to do something project-based. So instead of taking just a single student in a department, if they have a project that they would like to maybe 5 or 10 kids to do, which would incorporate some work and then some education, we would be able to fund that and have a conversation about funding the supervisor who would be working with that group throughout the summer. So we think that's unique. So we're always looking for ways to make sure that we're bridging that talent gap and making sure people know about the choices. Now, with respect to apprenticeship programs, that's another wonderful way in which we work with employers. We have helped some employers to develop apprenticeship programs working with the state. And we've also stepped in to offset the cost to be able to run an apprenticeship program. So if if an entity has an apprenticeship program, and after about 90 days, if they are working with us, we can step in at that 90-day mark and offset the cost, again, about 75%. So we had a city, and I don't remember which off the top, that had an apprenticeship program, but they were not able to grow it because they didn't have the funds. So when we came in and we worked with them, there is an eligibility process, of course, for the people, but a little less than half his class, we were able to support each time. And then as a result, they would become an apprentice, they would move forward, graduate, go into jobs in the city, and then he would start another class. And so that was very helpful because they were able to move themselves forward, and we were able to move people who were unemployed into employment with good benefits and pension. So that's the apprenticeship program. This year, on the 14th, we're also, one of the things that employers have said to us is, we've got to reach down to the younger audience. More and more I hear the younger audience. So as conveners and listening and hearing that, we try to solve the employment issue. So for the first time, we are going to be presenting what we called WOW, Worlds of Work. It's going to be on March 14th at the Amarant Arena from 9 to 12:30. And it is targeted for 9th and 10th graders. And we are featuring 9 different in-demand worlds, healthcare, manufacturing, IT, and public safety and service. And we have engaged many employers who are so excited to step in and assist us to educate our young people in an experiential way. Kids don't talk; they just text, or they want to see a video. So we wanted to take a look at that and produce something for them. So thank you, because your shop is going to be bringing computers, humanoid robots, AI, and that's going to be fascinating because they can see it, they can interact with it. We have our hospital, Broward Health and Memorial, and I think Baptist and a few others, who are bringing different hands-on equipment for the kids, aspects of the virtual hospital where they'll see almost very live, I can't say mannequins because they're moving, but very live AI that are breathing, and they're patients, and then they have different issues, so they'll be able to see and feel that. They're bringing EKG machines so they can understand what those things are. And the kids will go around to the different worlds. So that is in partnership with the school board of Broward County. And of course, Dr. Licata, the superintendent, is also on our board. So that has been a wonderful partnership. And Shane Strum from Broward Health. So we're always trying to bridge the gap. And another thing we did recently, and this is really not so much on the employer side, but I just think it's worth mentioning. We received $3 million for a broadband grant, which is going to, it's different. It's the first time we've ever done it, and it's going to be working with Broward Health to refurbish a building in East Pompano where it's a health desert. And as a result, we will have space there for a satellite office in an area that really was not as reachable. And so that's another draw that we'll be able to draw in customers, job seekers, and employers. So that's a little bit about a way in which we work.
So I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm starting a business, and I'm realizing, particularly early stage, that a lot of my overhead goes to personnel. And there are different ways now to bring in fractional positions or short-term workers. And let's just say, and this is a great product and service that you're offering, and we need to figure out a better way to link the entrepreneur, particularly the early stage, to your organization. So we'll talk about how they can get in contact with you at the end. But what if I have an immediate need, and I'm fully supportive of training the youth and getting them excited, and I wish there were more programs when I was younger to guide me, because I fell through the different cracks without a highway in front of me to get to where I got to. But how do we work in an on-demand society today where I need certain skills right this very moment? And can I come to you, and are you going to have a resource bank of people that may have those skills that I need immediately?
Absolutely. Excellent question. We work within the state system. It's called Employ Florida. Every unemployed person who is receiving unemployment benefits is required to go into that system and register to work. So we have a very large database. So if anyone comes in and says, this is what I need, we are able to look into our system. Once we get your job order, our system can match your job order 90%, 80%, 70% in conversation with you what you're willing to accept. How, so we can go as match 100%. And not only that, we will work with you and do the recruitment on site. Or if you'd like, we would go to your area, depending on how large of a company you are and how many jobs you have to fill. And we would have those, for example, for hospitality, we have gone on their property and have the job fairs there. So we are able to accommodate either plug and play, which is that you want them, you need them now, or you are willing to invest to be able to get that.
All right. You've been a true champion for the county for job growth and helping employers help them. We talked about some of the services supporting their businesses. There are lots of challenges, though, in the county. We've pivoted, maybe changed, morphed, however you want to share, from mostly a tourism, real estate type of economy, agriculture. We're more involved in tech and a lot of manufacturing has exploded. Space has exploded. A lot of areas. These new economies. What are some of the challenges, though, that you see from the job seeker perspective? Is it affordable housing? What are some of those challenges that you're seeing? Because you're truly at the epicenter, seeing some of these challenges today from some of those job seekers.
Well, I think resources sometimes is an issue, which is where we can step in with respect to our scholarships. Because when someone is receiving a scholarship, our intent is to remove all barriers so that they're able to be successful and graduate, to be able to meet the demands of the shortage. So we do provide support services for them and transportation services. We pay for books and tools. Separate from that, with respect to the challenges, affordable housing is something that I think everyone in the county knows it's something that we need to focus on, and they are. Childcare is also something that you will hear. But our welfare transition customers, they do have priority for childcare. So we are able to connect them with that, and then we will refer others.
So the applicant comes in, and then basically you're sort of exploring their background
and assessments,
and doing an assessment, sharing obviously job opportunities, but then also understanding what their needs are, and then potentially directing them and helping support them for some of those other assisted services as well.
Yes, it's really customer choice. So if someone comes in, we do need to do an assessment, find out what their strengths are. If they want to go to a training program, the schools have a specific tests that they must go through, like the CASAS test or the TABE test, to ensure that they have the skills and the wherewithal to be successful, because you don't want to put someone in a program where they're not successful. So we also give those tests. And then we're able to move forward, and then depending on what we see, we're able to have a guided conversation with them about either, yes, let's move forward, or no, let's look at some other choices. But we do have many tools that are able to assess their strengths and their skills and have those conversations with them. And, it really is important that, if you love what you do, it's never work, right? So it really is advantageous to make sure that our services are tailored to meet their needs, because if it meets their needs and if they're happy and they go into the direction and into the career path that they are able to be successful in, then it means on the other side, the employer is going to get talent that's going to stick, that they won't have to struggle.
So going back to being a business owner, and maybe I'm an early stage company, maybe I'm more mature, and I have a need for skill sets across the board from entry level to mid level to advanced professional level. Do you serve all of those sectors, or are you primarily working with entry, mid-level individuals?
No, our programs are vast. We also have a professional placement network, which are for some of your higher level entrepreneurs or employers. Yes, I think it was last week we placed someone at over 6 figures, and that happens all the time. people become unemployed at different stages, of their life. I think that because some of the programs are for entry level, such as our welfare transition program, where we are working with DCF for those single parents who have kids, it might be thought that that is all we have, but it really isn't. We serve all levels of job seekers. You have people who, they've been with their companies, and they're high-level people for many years, and the company is going offshore. Well, we get those warn notices, and all of those people now go into our database, and we are coming working with them to find a job. And
so if Chief Innovation Officers can be placed.
Yes, they can.
duly noted.
Investors and entrepreneurs, I don't know.
And also, like, for example, veterans. Veterans always get priority of service for us. So if you have a veteran who is now coming out of the service into civilian life, we have a tool that we can look at what they did in the service and match the skills to what they now can do in their civilian life. So it really is, we have a plethora, which is why every time you come to a board meeting, you learn something new, because we really do have so many tools at our disposal.
I'm glad that you mentioned veterans, because we just launched a veterans entrepreneurship program. It's 2 stages it's funded by Veterans Florida. And you bring a very crucial resource to that community, because you think about transitioning military where they've been fed and driven and their life has sort of been managed for them, and now all of a sudden, especially at lower level, you're now on your own and they don't know how to survive, and that final 6 months of transition can be the problematic thing, or bad things start to happen. So I admire what you're doing and appreciate that, and I actually want to talk to you a little bit more about that, because I think there's a way for us to collaborate on that as well.
We have a grant right now. It's called Get There Faster, and it is specific to veterans. And it's doing it allows us to do some of the things that I talked about, but we are able to elaborate more on it, so that because some of our veterans really are on the verge of homelessness, and they have a lot of different situations, PTSD and such. So we're able to step in and maybe help them to secure housing for a short time, and they get them clothing and get them the services they need, so that they can prepare themselves for that first impression, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression when you go into the job interview. And so that's so I'd love to talk with you about that. Yeah. That's important. We also have a relationship with FAU, where they are going into one of our central offices, and they are teaching similar, like an entrepreneur program that's going to help the veterans to be able to access state procurement. So they're kind of teaching them that, and we've been doing that. I think that was for this year.
You know, we're broadcasting from the Levan Center of Innovation. We highlight and share all the incredible technologies, AI here. And AI is a little bit scary, and in some ways. You've seen some pundits talking about the challenges and potentially the dark side of AI, job loss, potential job loss with AI. There are some job gains with AI. But one of the areas that I wanted to ask you about is these AI and these applicant tracking systems today. In my companies, I use them. They're deployed throughout. We are in a
some AI happening behind you.
Yeah, she heard you. You were calling.
You said something, and that robot's staring me down. Is doing this to me right now.
Yeah, you called to her.
A little scary as we talked about it. I love AI, Pepper. I love AI. But I wanted to ask you about these applicant tracking systems, because we are in still a very tight job market today, and these applicant tracking systems today kind of diagnose based on some elements of resumes and background, and say, oh, these are the cream of the crop here. But in a tight job market, you really have to expand outside of that to be a little more creative, to look at some skills and so forth. So kind of talk about that a little bit, and maybe that you could pass along some nuggets of experience here, and going beyond looking at those applicant tracking systems to find better and skilled talent.
Well, it's interesting. We just had maybe a couple of weeks ago a big event. It was our State of the Workforce. And you're right. And again, as I said, we are going to be in a labor shortage for a number of years. As it is, if you look at the Census Bureau, we are not producing our replacements, so tight squeeze will continue to happen. And so at our breakfast, we brought in, I think it was maybe about 300 employers, and we had Adrian Johnson, who's the president of CareerSource Florida, kind of talk about the forecast. And then we also have Rob from Peak Activity, who is an expert in AI, talk about that, because it is something that we as employers have to look at. Now, you can either just put dip your toe in it and just do a chat bot or different things, or you can really go a little, more intense in the way in which you use it to change your business. I went to Miami recently, and as we were walking, there was a robot that was delivering food, and I just thought that was the neatest thing, and that they're being responsive to their customers to grow their business. So that's an extreme, because we were thinking, wow, I almost wanted to follow it. And I watched it at the light. When it got to the light, it stopped and it waited. And I'm like, how's it going to figure out? But it was amazing. But going back to employers, one of the other things they can do is, we look at resumes and we tend to think, in old school, they need 3 years, they need a bachelor's, they need a master's, but employers are going to have to rethink that. Do they really need a master's? Do they really need a bachelor's? Is 8 years the answer? I mean, wouldn't 6 years or 3 years do? And then the other aspect is, I call it a purple squirrel, because post-pandemic, so many people were doing different jobs that they didn't normally do. And, that's where we can come in, CareerSource Broward, and help, because if you need to train someone in a way that, you don't customarily have that, or they don't have that skill, that's where we can come in and help you and pay for, subsidize the skill that you're now going to teach someone. So I think we're going to be living in interesting times, and CareerSource Broward is here to be able to help in whatever avenue that is, whether it's plug and play or whether it's training.
You have your Rubik's Cube question?
So I feel bad, because I was telling Jim earlier, I have a Rubik's Cube that I put on the table whenever we do these, and I forgot it today. So my apologies. So
I think that's great.
No, we're still going there. It's virtual. So you don't have to fix it or anything, but it's usually, it's not meant to stump you, but it's to ask you something challenging. So we've been talking about CareerSource Broward and you as the leader of the organization. We'll go personal for a moment. What's one thing that the world doesn't know about Carol that they need to know?
That they need to know? Well, I think what they need to know is that I am passionate about the work that we do. I love my job. So, whether I'm working from 8 to 10 or 8 to 12 or 3, much to the staff's chagrin when they get an email at 3 in the morning, I love my job. My goal is to be able to help as many of our Broward citizens to be able to be self-sufficient. My heart is with children. And I know that if I can help the parents to be self-sufficient, I have helped them, their family, I have helped their children for generations to come. I have changed their lives. And, growing up, a village surrounded me so that I was able to move forward and obtain my master's degree from Columbia University. And CareerSource Broward is that village.
And you can see the passion and the love in what Carol does. And as when voted for Carol to be president and CEO, she received a standing ovation from the board, because it was an easy vote. It was probably our easiest vote because she's a true civic leader, a true champion, as I mentioned earlier, about for job growth, job seekers, and certainly helping the employers in these tough economical times right now. Carol Hylton, amazing work, contributors to the county, contributor to the state and helping support. I would like to thank you for being on the podcast today. How do job seekers, and certainly part of our audience, and a great part is employers, how do they get a hold of either you and or CareerSource Broward?
They just need to look 211, or they just need to go to www.careersourcebroward.com.
And whether you're in Broward or not, there are other agencies that are supporting in various counties and throughout the country. And so whether you're listening today that you're in Broward County or elsewhere, certainly encourage you to seek out your local CareerSource to assist in these types of services for job seekers and for employers. So,
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Remember to subscribe, like, and share the Sunshine Startups Live podcast and follow us on social media. If you're interested in sponsoring or appearing on the show, please email us at booking@sunshinestartups.live.